Good morning, DC. How you doing?
Doing great, Martin. How are you today?
Doing good. DC, I'm going to take you all over the – you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm taking you all over the board today, but I guess we'll pick up with the conversation we were having right before I brought you on, and that's about Trendon Watford choosing to go to LSU. I had suspicions that that's where he was going to go before yesterday, and my suspicions were not good. They were not healthy suspicions. They were this is dragging out. There's something going on. He's going to go to LSU. Is he going to go to LSU because maybe there was some stuff that was happening behind the scenes? I hope I'm wrong, but when I saw – did you get to see the press conference?
I did. I did get to see the press conference.
And DC, I remember that moment. Wasn't that big a deal with mine? But I can remember my family's excitement and joy and happiness for me. Now, I've seen these interviews these commitment ceremonies or whatever, where a parent is like mad and disappointed that their son chose, a different school, like Landon Collins' mom did on both her boys. But this was not that type of the reaction that I saw from family, and especially dad, wasn't as much mad or angry as it was almost a dad. You ever, when you're concerned for your kids, what was your initial, when you saw this, and this is such a big moment, what was your initial reaction to Trendon Watford committing to go to LSU?
Well, I think it was anticlimactic. If you think about all the buildups going on over the time, and I think he's been his family, his advisors really wanted to play in the NBA. I think they think he's a one and done. They think playing in college is not going to help him. I think that overall, he's always going to go to LSU, in my opinion. I think I stated that opinion on your show several weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I think when the Will Wade thing happened, that in my mind changed their mind a little bit. But I think they were so heavily invested in that process, if you will, that they couldn't get out of that commitment, and that they believe it's going to be a frustrating experience of what it's a lot of what ifs could happen, come out. A lot of things could come out over the next year, and I think they just really want to get past that year and get to the NBA. I think it's what they were thinking. So I don't think it was a fun thing for them. I think Alabama was always his fallback position. He had a great relationship with Avery Johnson, and it was one of those deals where Alabama always welcomed with open arms. And so when that took place, that was their fallback position. But when Avery Johnson left, his safety net was gone, and he had to build a relationship with another team that he didn't know anything about. So, in my opinion, he's chosen the lesser of that. In other words, he was already tied to LSU so deep that he had to maintain that commitment when all the things were removed, at least on the surface, putting Will Wade back in as the coach and everything. I think he had a little more power, a little more negotiation leverage, if you will. When Will Wade was put back in as coach, I don't think he had any leverage to get out of the deal that he'd already made. And when you make that deal, sometimes you got to stick to it so nothing else comes out about it.
Now, we're not all attorneys, but I'm gonna move on from the deal and the tie-in. But I'm telling you, I saw the dad, DC, and I was like, that doesn't look like a guy that's excited that we've waited, all of this time for his son to make this decision to get there. But when it comes down to it, what impact do you think this decision has in terms of Alabama and their plan and Nate Oates and his plan? Because I think Trendon Watford was a perfect fit for Nate Oates' system. But what do you think this impact has for Alabama?
I don't think Alabama was really considered that they seriously were going to get Watford. That's what I've been hearing. And so I it's not sour grapes. It's just that I hate it for the kid who's going to have to deal with a year at LSU with all the problems coming his way. And I know he does like Alabama. He's been a big Alabama fan all of his life. He would love to come to Alabama. I don't think it's going to affect Alabama that much. The good thing I love about Nate Oates is he's one of those guys that he's going to say, okay, shrug his shoulders and move on to the next one because it's just not in God's plan for at this point. He's got a different plan, and he's going to roll with it. So I think he would have fit in great. It's been great we could have got him, but I think he's going to – it's one of those deals where you just Alabama move on and keep on doing what he's planning on doing and build a team like he's planning on building it, and I think we'll be just fine.
Have you heard whether or not he has extended that offer to the there was a kid that JUCO transfer that had committed to Buffalo, kind of waiting and hanging out to see what Watford was going to do. Kind of a bigger version, more mature version. I'm not saying more talented version than Watford, but have you heard anything whether or not he's extended an offer to him or not?
I think that offer has always been there. Just wait; it's a wait and see thing. Let's see how this plays out. I need to have one scholarship available just in case. And now that that's gone, I think he'll have an opportunity now to make a decision. So I think in the next couple of days you might see some movement there with that Buffalo guy.
DC, you and I talk a lot off air and stuff like that. Is this one of those things that was how timing of news totally impacts how it plays out or the impact it has? Because I really, a lot of people are going to say that Alabama fans are just saying this, but I believe if this decision had been made, earlier in the season, right after the season, or during the early signing period, a lot of Alabama people would have been disappointed. But now that it's happened, it seems almost like, okay, let's and get ready. And do you think the excitement for this basketball team is just as high without Trendon Watford as it would have been, if he had came, 6 months ago?
Yeah, I think that this team is the excitement for Alabama basketball is at the highest level I've seen it. I've been a season ticket holder for years, been there, been at Coleman Coliseum since it was called the Plaid Palace. So I know that, to my opinion, like I said, this is probably the most excited Alabama basketball fans have been since Wimp Sanderson was a coach at Alabama. And of course, I'm biased. I think he was the best coach that Alabama has ever had. So, I think Nate Oates can take it to a level and build on that. And I think build on this excitement. I think he's going to do that. Another thing, I don't think it's sour grapes. I think Alabama fans we're used to getting big name players. Would love to have Trendon Watford, but I think it's kind of like you and I are talking here. I think we're a little sad for the kid. I mean, I think it was anticlimactic in just saying this could have been a great thing, but with all this cloud of stuff over the program at LSU and him choosing LSU anyway, makes you kind of go, well, what's going on here? And maybe you're sad for the kid that he had to come to this. And if you look at the interview again, Martin, I don't know if you noticed this. You looking at the dad. You've mentioned the dad a couple of times, but look at that mom. There were some tears coming on after that, and believe me, when I look at that and observe that, I don't think those were tears of joy. Oh, hey, I'm so proud of my baby.
Yeah,
I think it was tears of, man, I hate that this has come to this, that the luster is kind of off, and I hate that this kind of moment's been soiled for my baby type thing. And that's what I feel sorry for the kid.
I saw that too, but Dad couldn't. Mom tried to hide hers at first, DC. Mm-hmm. I mean, because she tried to, excited, and then Dad's reaction was immediate. I mean, it was immediate. But also, even when you look at the kid, Trendon did not smile. Really, I mean, at the end, it's almost like he realized, oh man, I have not shown any excitement, and it's just, I don't know. As you say, it was anticlimactic, and you kind of feel bad for the kid. But hey, he's an LSU Tiger now, so good luck to him. Wish him the best, except for when he plays against Alabama, and may all this work out for him, and things turn out for the best. We're gonna come back on the other side. We're gonna jump around on a couple other sports: NBA, boxing, softball, and then I'm also gonna get with you on. Let's talk a little bit about this wide receiver core at Alabama and how special it is. We're speaking with DC Capstone Report. You can find it at dccapstonereport.com. All right, DC, we're back in. We were talking a little bit, wrapping up the basketball. Let's kind of do a round robin of a couple different sports that have some things going on. Get your thoughts on them. Do you watch much boxing?
Yeah, I do. I follow Deontay Wilder.
Well,
it's always great to have a heavyweight champ from your own hometown, so I do follow that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting that you know, thinking about the fact that the world heavyweight champion, at least holding one of the belts, is right here in Tuscaloosa. Did you get to see the fight? I didn't get to see the fight, but I've seen the blow. I got
to see the replay on YouTube of about a minute 40 seconds of which I think that was probably most of the fight.
And that's the hard part about this. But I guess the question, and we'll move on from this in terms of it. What are your thoughts in terms of an eventual Deontay Wilder Joshua fight? And are we gonna end up with the same type of feeling we had after the Trendon Watford final commitment?
Well, I think a Joshua Wilder fight is gonna be another more of what you just saw. I think Wilder he's more talented. I think he's got a heavier puncher, and I think if he lands that punch, Joshua doesn't have a chance. So. To me, he's gotten better with his accuracy on landing the punches. And he had a little bit more far in this fight. He had a little more passion, a little more rage in him because of some of the things. I've always said in fighting, why in the world do you run your opponent down or say anything about your opponent? That's the only guy in the world that can kill you in the ring and not be prosecuted for it. So,
that's right.
I mean, I think Brazil opened his mouth and said a few things that not only you got a guy who's got a powerful punch, then he had a lot of passion behind it, a lot of aggression behind it. And I think you saw him take it out in that punch. That's one of the hardest punches I've ever seen land. If you watch it in slow motion, he almost knocks his right ear out of the skin. Such a powerful blow.
Yeah.
But I think Deontay Wilder can beat Anthony Joshua. I think the rematch with Tyson Fury is the fight you want to see. I think Tyson Fury came out after that and said that Joshua wouldn't have a chance with Deontay Wilder, and he should know he's the boxer. But I mean, I see the same thing looking from the outside looking in. Wilder, pound for pound, has the most power. Right now, he's a power puncher. Reminds me a little bit of Mike Tyson in the older days, where Mike Tyson wanted to just knock your head off, and that's what Deontay Wilder, when he puts that aggression with his power, he's hard to beat. Yeah, and I think if you watch it back on slow motion, or watch it back from him going left to right, you might see him do a little crow hop there, where he goes in and puts a little more power behind it. It was just a really an amazing punch when you analyze it from start to finish.
And you make such a good point. I think that's why Joshua has extended this thing as much as he can. I mean, it's kind of like if I control the belt, and I control when I control the belt, I control my cash flow. Why would I readily give that up if there's a good chance that my job as a champion could come to an end? So I understand Joshua's thing to laying it out, getting more hype behind it, of course, which increases the more money. And I guess if you're going to lose, you might as well get as much money on your way out as you can. So we'll be watching that. It appears that they're trying to make it at least a two deal fight. I think kind of one of those, if I win, it's the end. If you win, we do it again type of thing. So we'll watch that as I'm sure negotiations will get underway. And you mentioned Tyson Fury may get in there in between. We'll see if that happens. And that's probably what Joshua hopes for, so that he could take care of that opponent. Let's switch over, DC, to softball. Where would you rank what Murphy has done in 40, Coach Murphy of the Alabama women's softball team, 40 consecutive regional wins, and all of the great streaks, whether it's, final streaks or win streaks, where does that rank in terms of how difficult it is night in and night out to beat some of the best opponents in the world?
No, I think that's a great streak. It's a great record anywhere. I've always said, Mark, that at the University of Alabama, Patrick Murphy is probably one of the most underrated coaches in the nation. He has to compete against some great coaches here, with Nick Saban and Sarah Patterson, Mick Potter, great championship coaches. But he took Alabama team to the World Series and won, and that's what everybody talks about, that one win. But look at all the times that he has motivated Alabama to win, even when they didn't have the best team. And I'm talking about 40 straight victories in the regional. I think it dates back to 2007. The only reason I know that, I was at the stadium that day when we lost the game at regional. And, of course, I was there, too, when we lost the Super Regional to Hawaii. So I've seen some of the losses as well. But I think this coaching job this year might be the best coaching job that Patrick Murphy, irrespective of how it turns out, just being picked to be 8th in the league, in a league where he felt disrespected, had a bad off year last year. He felt disrespected. And I think he has used that for motivation, and has turned around and come out this year and has really done a great job motivating his players and getting the best out of good freshmen and seniors on the bench that's been not playing as much, and your everyday players. I mean, he's found a way to get the best out of each one of them. And I think that's the mark of a great coach. Yeah,
and when you look at what he's been able to do, I think as far as impacting not necessarily the sport, but the region of a sport, until Alabama in 2012 won that national title, there'd never been a national title this side of the Mississippi. And since that time, there's been several, and there's always a team that elevates, that is in the running. And I think a lot of that goes straight to the level of the SEC play and the level of women's softball in the South is directly related to Coach Murphy. And has he impacted this sport as much as any coach has ever impacted a sport in terms of its popularity and the change in the level of play?
I think so, especially because when you think about it, this was a Pac-12. This was Pac-12 all the way. Then it moved into Oklahoma, Michigan, other players, teams like that. And it wasn't thought of that the SEC was really competitive. But when Coach Murphy, took that at that time in 2012, the happy-go-lucky Alabama team out there that said, "Hey, we're just glad to be here," and then whipped up on everybody in the middle of a rain delay, was sliding and playing in the rain like they had no care in the world, and then come out after the rain delay and beat Oklahoma. I mean, that type of attitude, just that nobody ever seen that type of attitude under pressure so much. And I think that night on the national stage, I remember where I was watching it. I think it was the rain delay. I maybe finished up at 1 or 2 in the morning, and I know I woke up everybody in my hotel room screaming because we won the championship. Yeah. But look, that night that was replayed over and over and over, and I think then Alabama was the lead horse in the race in the SEC, and everybody in the SEC that had a softball team said, "Hey, we have great play in the South too. People just don't know it yet. Now we can do just that well." And everybody started building their teams, and I think it's been great. We had I think every SEC team that has a team, the 13 teams. I don't think Vanderbilt has a softball team, but 13 teams made it to regionals, and you're coming out of regionals with some great teams still left in the final 16. So we got a chance to really put SEC to put a mark on this playoff going in Oklahoma City. So I really believe that this could be one of the best, strongest SEC softball fields that we've had in a long time. And again, this Coach Murphy has is due a lot of credit to that. He doesn't get that credit sometimes.
Yeah, and Robert Saucier reminding us that we almost lost him to LSU as well. Glad that decision worked out for the Tide, as Murph had taken the job, and that shows you what type of passion and what type of coach he is when his former players, took to the airwaves and the media world and saying, "Don't do it, Coach. Don't leave." And he came back, and I think it's been a great decision for him and definitely for the University of Alabama. DC Capstone Report. You can find it at dccapstonereport.com. Coming back on the other side, DC, we're going to get your thoughts on the wide receivers at the University of Alabama. Give them a grade. Where would you change this group if you could add something to this group? We had this conversation on yesterday. I'd like to know your thoughts on it. We'll have that conversation and more right here on your home for Alabama sports. This is the Blitz on Tide 102.9 and 100.9. Before we get into that wide receiver question, DC James Brandon wanted to know, how do you think the facility enhancements will impact the University of Alabama softball program?
I think Alabama is leading the nation in already. We have the stadium, the attendance, the fans. Any improvements that we make will go a long way of even making it even better. So I think Alabama is a front runner in that. It has been over time, and because the fans fill it up every time it comes, I think improvements would make it just even a harder place to play. So I think it'd be an improvement for Alabama softball.
That is awesome. DC, let's get to the wide receiver core. Kind of start off with, what's your grade for this group and why?
I think you're asking that, and you already know. I've said on your show for the last, I don't know how many weeks I've said on your show, we have the best in the NCAA wide receiver core, top to bottom. So I give them an A and an A+ because of their speed, their ability to catch the ball over the middle, and their hands. I just think that we've got the top receiving core. And, what do you do to improve on what we've got? I mean, how do you make them better? I think there's some things that you can do, but it requires the play calling and choosing the right play to make all that click. And when that happens, I think there's nobody better.
Next question is, who's going to be the top newcomer? Will it be Mechie? Will it be Shavers? Will it be Bolden? Who do you think is going to be the top newcomer that breaks into that fifth and possibly sixth rotation?
I think Mechie's already proven his speed and his catching ability. I think he's 6 foot tall. He's got long arms. I think Shavers is an option. Everybody says Alabama needs that 50-50 ball receiver. I'm not going to go out there and say that, only because I'm not sure we need a 50-50 ball receiver with the quarterback we have right now. I think we run routes to get open. If you look at that Clemson game, go back and really study the film, which I've done. We weren't missing balls because we couldn't win 50-50 balls. But because of pre-snap reads, they had us confused. We throw to the wrong receiver. That we had receivers open on the routes. And that's the good thing of Alabama's speed. We have receivers open on every route. It's just the ability to get it to it. And with Tua's ability to get the ball in, I think in this new offense, he's going to have an opportunity to read that better. And we're going to see a lot better in our passing game going forward. I know that's scary, but I think it's going to be. So I think John Mechie fits into that better. We've had a 6'6" a player in Terrell Shavers on the bench for a while. Just can't crack in. Not that he's not a great player. He's very athletic. He just can't crack into the starting lineup because of the great athletic ability players we have ahead of him. So I think we got Chris Golden on the team, if I'm not mistaken. He's 6'5". I believe we've got some long receivers, some tall receivers. I'm just not sure we're having to use them at this point. So I think Mechie's probably the one that's going to break on the scene, if anybody, in the wide receiver corps.
I agree with you on the Mechie probably being the guy. He seemed like the guy in the spring, had a great spring game, but a great spring all season. We differ a little bit on the 50-50 ball, only in this sense. I think in open field, we don't need anybody other than what we have. I think that it just gives you another option in the red zone when you can't get as much separation. Your speed, once you get inside that 20, I think Alabama's speed is nullified a little bit because there's not as much space to cover, so the separation is great. It's just been a nice option. The other thing, and see your thoughts here, is the area that I want to see this group improve, and I don't know if they can, DC, is when it comes to run blocking. I think that's the biggest, other than, of course, the offensive line has to get more physical. But I think the lack of a blocking presence, a physical presence, we've had the Julio Jones and guys like that. And I can't forget his name, number 13, Stewart from Birmingham, or Darius Stewart. That mentality, to me, is missing from our wide receiver core, and I would like to see somebody step up and do that. What are your thoughts?
Well, two thoughts there. One is I think Jerry Jeudy and Devonta Smith are the players that can step up and do that on this team. I think both of them have the leg drive and the ability to do that. I'm not sure that was taught as much with our last wide receiver group, but I think that will be more of an emphasis going forward because our running game will be more relied on this time. And to go back to your point on the 50-50 balls, I'm okay with throwing the ball to Henry Ruggs III down there. I've seen him go for the ball. I don't know as many people. I don't know many people that 6'6" have the same kind of jump that he has. So I'm okay throwing the ball up and with him in the red zone, or Jerry Jeudy at 6'1". So
all right, DC. All right. All right. Of course, you just have to have a guy. I'm looking beyond Tua, okay? I'm looking for a guy. I'm just kidding. With Tua, I tell somebody with Tua, it wouldn't be a 50-50 ball with his accuracy. It'd probably be 80-20 if we had a 6'6" guy that was of the Justin Ross type. DC, as I wrap up, the NBA, and I know this is switching gears and we can talk about football on and on, but what are your closing thoughts on just what the Golden State Warriors are doing, making it to their 5th straight without the likes of Kevin Durant, losing Kevin Durant and then losing Iguodala, and last night still closing out one of the best teams in the NBA?
It's just hard to even say anything bad about the team. They just, as a team, they just dominate right now. So, I mean, I think it's great for them. And you're losing Kevin Durant. I think here's the biggest thing about having Kevin Durant on your bench. They may have gotten a little better as a cohesive unit when he went out. Yeah. The great thing about having him on your team is he's on the other side. You're not having to play against him. So that's a big plus for Golden State. And so, I'm not knocking Kevin Durant. He's a fantastic player. But, you only got one ball. It's hard to get everybody opportunity.
They play better basketball without him. I'm not saying they're harder to beat, but they play better basketball, team ball, when he's not out there. And of course, what's his name goes for what, 4 straight 35-plus point games when he goes out. So he's been deferring. He's been deferring to KD. And if that doesn't say anything about your leader, then nothing does. When he has to step up, he goes for 35, 4 straight games. So
my only knock about the NBA is what I've said for the last 5 years. You can turn on and watch the last 4 minutes, and you can see the ball game. I think that's the only knock up against the NBA. I don't think it's as exciting from start to finish like college basketball is.
All right. That's DC Capstone Report. You can find it at dccapstonereport.com. They'll be back up shortly after SEC Media Days. DC, thank you, sir, and we'll catch up with you next week.